Hello and welcome to the Catholic Moments Podcast. Today we've got big news to share as we announce our affiliation with SQPN, the StarQuest Production Network. And now, here's your host, the one, the only, Lisa Henry.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Catholic Moments, the podcast from CatholicMom.com, where we talk about all things faith, family, and fun from a Catholic perspective. Thank you to my 16-year-old son, Eric, otherwise known around our house as Mr. Big Voice, since he recorded that intro. And thank you to Teresa Smith, our wonderful Catholic musician, for sharing her gorgeous song, Blooming. You can check out Teresa's music at www.teresasmithmusic.com. Well, as you can tell from the introduction, we are still celebrating our invitation to join SQPN, the StarQuest Production Network, as an affiliate podcast. They rang in Advent and celebrated Christmas with the addition of 5 new shows to their lineup, and I'm so happy to be among those who were selected to join this wonderful group of Catholic podcasters. The other shows, which you've probably already heard about, are Catholic Underground, On the U, The Catholic Hack, and of course the iPadre, Father Jay Finelli. And so I'm so happy to be joining with these other podcasters in this new addition to the SQPN lineup. I invite you to visit me over there and of course to leave comments at the blog at CatholicMoments.com. We've got a busy show for today. I'm actually recording this show on Christmas Eve because I'm taking off on the 26th, which is when the show will be released, fairly early in the morning for a trip, and I'm hoping that I'll actually be able to podcast from there as well, or at least capture some audio feedback to share with you. But just in the event that I can't, I'm recording this episode early so that you'll have something to listen to as you do your post-Christmas returning or cooking around your house or whatever you might be doing today. So even though you're listening to this today, Wednesday the 26th, for me it's still the 24th. So I'm trying to anticipate what I'm going to be feeling like on the 26th. Well, since I'm talking about SQPN, I have to remind you that we only have a few more days left of our SQPN Fund Drive, the giving campaign, where you can share a little bit of your time, talent, and treasures to support this great podcasting organization. So I want to invite you to head over to SQPN. There'll be a link in our show notes for you to make any size contribution that you can. Even a little contribution will go a long way towards spreading Catholic podcasting and reaching out to families and friends through this great form of new media. So I do want to invite you to support the Catholic Giving Campaign at sqpn.com with your end-of-the-year contributions. Here's a little message about that.
I'm Mac.
And I'm a Catherine.
We do the Catholic in a Small Town podcast, and thanks to our efforts, Rosary Army and SQPN have reached their fundraising goals. Great job, guys.
No, they didn't. Who told you that?
But we did a great promo last week.
Still, only about 5% of listeners has given anything.
5%? They got like 7,000 listeners. What's everybody else waiting for?
Why don't you put the dishes in the dishwasher?
Because I know that if I just leave them in the sink, someone else will come along and put them in the dishwasher for me. Oh. You heard the lady. Stop waiting for everybody else. Give it to the SQPN RA Fund Drive. Catherine, can you take this to the sink for me?
Well, as I told you, I'm going to be away from my computer. We're taking a little trip, and I'm hoping to disclose the location to you in the form of a podcast. But if not, I'll share some feedback from that trip when I get back in the form of a little bit of sound seeing from my trip. But I'm really hoping that I'll be able to log in from where I'm going and check in on that fund drive and see that we've reached the 100% commitment for the fundraising drive for the giving campaign, because I have a lot of confidence that great things are going to happen in 2008 for SQPN and for all of our individual podcasts as well. Well, you know how much I love getting your emails and how much I enjoy sharing the feedback that you guys share with me. And I just can't say this week I have just been so humbled and overwhelmed by the amount of positive feedback that we received on the show. And especially your warm welcome over at SQPN. The message boards over there were filled with comments for me, and my Facebook account filled with greetings from you. Too many names to say individually, but I just want to thank each one of you personally for sharing your congratulations. You can probably tell by the sound of my voice, and those of you who know me well, how really super excited I am about this. And so the fact that you guys would take time to reach out and to drop me an email or to send me a Facebook message or to comment over on SQPN on the blog there just means the world to me. And I want to thank you, and I want to let you know that really fuels me to keep being so excited about the podcast. So I hope that you'll use those mechanisms to report to me on a regular basis about how you think the show is going and what I can do to help you in your journey, and how we can make this an even better podcast. I have a lot of learning to do. I know that. So I thank you guys for reaching out with those comments and just for all your warm wishes. Well, even though Christmas is behind us here at the Catholic Moments podcast, we're still celebrating Christmas through January 6th. And one of the ways that we're doing that to stretch our holiday out to the Feast of the Epiphany on the 6th is with our contest that we've got this month. We're running a great giveaway for a wonderful CD by the Catholic Christian contemporary group Jars of Clay, and you have an opportunity to win their latest CD called Christmas Songs. All you have to do to enter this contest is drop me an email to lisa@catholicmom.com, and in the subject line, please include the words Jars of Clay Contest. And in the body of your email, please make sure I have your mailing address so I can send you your CD when you're a winner. Once again, it's a great honor to be able to give away things like this. And I hope that you guys are as excited as I am about these opportunities to share great things that are happening in our Catholic culture. So Jars of Clay CD, be sure to enter that contest by January 6th. The winners will be announced later that week. With that little bit of business out of the way, I want to go ahead and share with you an interview that I recorded earlier this week with a very talented Catholic author named Michael McCarthy. Michael is a Chicago area resident and the author of a book called The Sun Farmer, and I really enjoyed my conversation with him. Before I share the interview, I want to read to you a little bit from a summary of the book to let you know just what the book is all about. Ted Fink's wife, Rhoda, heard the explosion from the living room where she sat reading the day's mail and sipping iced tea. She ran to the front door of their farmhouse and saw a massive, curling fireball across the field. Her husband was in flames. She was certain. She called 911, asking for help at the farm. So begins Michael McCarthy's extraordinary portrayal of a real-life nightmare. An Illinois corn farmer so badly burned in a tractor accident that only his feet, protected by his new steel-toe boots, escaped the flames. While he lay unconscious, it was up to his wife, with no way of knowing how disabled or disfigured her husband would be after multiple surgeries, to decide whether to allow doctors to enshroud him in a cocoon of artificial skin or allow him to die. Well, with that introduction, here's my interview with Michael McCarthy, author of The Sun Farmer. My guest this morning is Mike McCarthy, author of The Sun Farmer, the story of a shocking accident, a medical miracle, and a family's life and death decision. Hi, Mike. How are you today?
Fine, Lisa. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be sharing the good news about this book, which I think is really a life-changing read, and I want to congratulate you on having written it.
Thank you very much.
Could you just start off by briefly introducing yourself to our Catholic Moments audience? Let us know a little bit more about yourself and your family.
Sure. Well, I grew up in St. Louis, and I went to Catholic grade school, high school, and college. I graduated from St. Louis U in the mid-1980s and went on to work at the Wall Street Journal. And The Sun Farmer is my first book. It was just published in May. Mm-hmm. And I am a father with 4 children. I have a 20-year-old son and 3 girls who are 17 because my wife and I got married, and she brought 2 children to our marriage, and I had a 17-year-old, so now we have three
my
17-year-old girls.
Well, I think you're the first dad of three 17-year-old girls I've talked to, so that's got to be pretty crazy at times around your house.
I think writing a book is easier, actually.
Well, speaking of writing a book, you went from being bureau chief at the Wall Street Journal, right there in Chicago, to writing The Sun Farmer. Tell us a little bit more about how that story transitioned from an article in the Wall Street Journal to this fabulous book.
Thank you. Well, what happened was I was working in the Journal Chicago office, and I was looking to do a story that about someone who was coming back from a really tragic accident, but really loved their work and was trying to sort of rehabilitate and find their way back to the work that they loved, the work that somehow gave them satisfaction in life. And I learned about this farmer and spent 14 months with them off and on just for the newspaper story. It was a front page story that ran in the Wall Street Journal. It was long. It was, like one of the long
like
magazine
feature,
profiles
right.
that you'd read. Yeah, and when it ran, people were just really struck by it. A lot of people said that they felt it had changed their life. There was one man who wrote in and said that he and his wife had a bottle of wine that they'd been saving for a special occasion. They'd read the story that day. They opened it up and just talked about what was important to them. And this is a newspaper story. This is just the story of people's lives and an accident they had encountered. So the story really moved a lot of readers. Well, one of those readers happened to be Ivan D., a publisher here in Chicago, a book publisher, who read it and said, he sent me, very classically, sent me a note to my mailbox at the Journal and said, I really like their story. I think that Finks have something really important to tell us here. Would you consider expanding it into a book? And that's really how it began.
Wow, incredible. And the story is the story of Tom and Rhoda Fink, right? And can you just kind of briefly share with our readers a little bit about what happened to Tom?
Absolutely, sure. It was Ted. And Ted,
I'm sorry.
Fink, that's okay. Ted Fink was 45 years old. This was in November of 1999. It was just before Thanksgiving. They were Illinois farmers. They're out almost to the Iowa border. And Ted was moving a propane tank with his tractor, and the propane tank slipped off his tractor and burst into a giant ball of flame that was 300 feet high and around.
Oh my gosh.
And Ted was right in the middle of it. The explosion was so powerful that neighbors heard the rumble from miles away. People saw what they thought was almost like a flash of the sun. It was so bright. And here was this man inside of it. Well, two neighbors who were nearby jumped in their trucks and drove over to help him. They knew someone was in the fire. Rhoda, Ted's wife, was inside the house. She was calling 911. She was too far away to help him herself. And so the two neighbors who arrived, the fire was so intense, it was still burning. It was burning, and because propane's a little heavier than air, it was levitating. There was this wall of flame that was sitting there, and these men crawled underneath the wall of flame, found Ted, put him out, smothered him with dirt, and put his body and clothes out the fire. And they stepped away, and the fire was so intense that Ted caught fire again.
Oh my gosh!
And so they had to basically redo the whole process again. They're tearing his clothes off. Finally, about the time they finally put him out, the paramedics arrived, and they helicoptered Ted away to the nearest burn center. Where when Rhoda finally caught up with him, now this is a couple who've been married 25 years, and had never expected or talked about, an accident like this.
Right.
The doctor meets with her and says, Rhoda, your husband is in very, very grave condition, and there's a very good chance that he won't survive. And the only way we can treat him, the only thing we have that could possibly help him is a synthetic skin. It's experimental. It's recently been approved. We can try it. He said, I've had some luck with it. I don't know whether it'll work, but I know if we don't try it, he will die. And so basically Rhoda is left with this decision.
Right, making that decision. On the spur of the moment, right.
Spur of the moment, and the problem is, as the doctor told her, I don't know how much ability Ted's going to have. I don't know whether he'll be able to see, whether he'll be able to think, talk, walk. So she has to make a decision to choose to save his life without knowing what that really meant, what really he would have left in terms of abilities. And that's what she did. And she did like what I think a lot of spouses would do, which is the knee-jerk thing, let's save him. At all costs, let's save him.
Yes.
And so that's really the way that the story and the book begin. But then from there, it evolves very much into a story of what life is like when you make that decision to choose life and to move ahead. And I think sometimes we get Hollywood portrayals of happy endings, and this one is a little tougher than that. This one is a pretty gritty reality. And that's what I really wanted to explore in The Sun Farmer.
And I think that you've shared very eloquently Rhoda's commitment to her Lutheran background and the fact that her faith really kind of carried her through this journey. That was really very inspiring to me in the book as well. Now, you spent some time with them on their farm, right, to write the book?
Yes, it was actually fun. People have said, people have commented that they think it was so great that I spent so much time. I was out there over about 2 years, almost once a month, sometimes more, and I'd go out and I'd spend all day with them. And I'd ride around on the tractor with Ted, and I planted with his younger son, Chris. We planted corn one season. I helped Rhoda shuck corn in the kitchen. I mean, we just, spent a lot of time together.
Right.
They were really good to open up their lives to me. And it takes a while, in order to really get inside people's lives and tell what something was like, you have to really get them to, feel like you're just a family friend.
Yes.
And, that doesn't immediately happen when a journalist shows up and knocks on the door.
It comes across in the reading of the book, though, that you do have that sense of familiarity with their family, and it's just, I once again, I want to say that one thing I really got out of this book was to have those discussions with my husband and with my children, and to kind of talk about some of these types of things. So, great job. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your own leap of faith that you took in writing the book and what you're doing now with your career.
Sure. Well, I was working at the Wall Street Journal, and this was the biggest, largest project I'd ever tried. I spent, as I say, 14 months reporting it. The Wall Street Journal ended up nominating the story for a Pulitzer Prize in feature writing the year it came out. So they were, they obviously were impressed with it, and I'm grateful to them for doing that. And I felt as if, I'd been at the Wall Street Journal for about 20 years at that point, almost 22. And my kids were getting older. I was looking around at what I wanted to do. I felt like larger stories, and frankly, stories that touched on faith more were the direction I wanted to go. And I didn't feel like the path at the Wall Street Journal was going to really continue to lead me that way. They were great to sort of find room in the paper, a lot of room in the paper for the story of Ted and Rhoda, because I think it was a medical tale, and it had to do with technology, and it asked ethical questions that were good for a Wall Street Journal audience. But I think that there was also a different audience that I was attempting to reach, and I think you and your readers and subscribers are one that I would like to continue to reach. And so the next step for me is to continue to look for work that is a little more faith-based, that addresses issues of Christianity and spirituality, probably more directly than The Sun Farmer did, although I think there's a lot of it in there. I think that's because that's the place I am in life, and I think my writing is going to continue to go that direction. So in a way, a lot of people have viewed this book for me as a transitional work from kind of journalist and working at the newspaper that sort of does day-by-day capitalism to something that's more creative and probably a little bit more spiritual.
Well, I was
so
interested.
Right now,
I was
go ahead.
I was interested to read. I don't remember which article it was that I read, but it mentioned that you said that when you were writing this book, you felt like your writing was a gift from God, and that you would attend mass every morning and then just come home and write like crazy. So I thought that was really, really very touching that you would, take this jump to use your skills for something that could really have an impact on so many lives. So.
Well, it's nice of you to say that. Yeah. I think it's true. I remember that article, and the writer seemed really impressed by it. But it wasn't supposed to be like, oh, look how holy I am.
Right.
It was more a sense of, he said, what's your writing process? And I had to think. I was like, what is my writing process? I go, well, what I normally do is I get up, and the first thing I do is I go to Mass, and then I come home, and when my mind is fairly cleared, I start doing so and so and so and so. So I think he took it as that was part of my writing style or something. But, my wife and I usually try to get to Mass as often as we can, which includes, thankfully, we have a church right up the street here, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, that is a short walk. And for an 8 o'clock Mass, being able to dive out of bed and make it to Mass in 15 minutes is a real, makes it very doable, I think.
Awesome. Well, the book is tremendous, and I do want to encourage everybody to visit Michael McCarthy's website, which is www.thesunfarmer.com, to check out this book. And you have a new fan in me, so I'll be waiting anxiously for whatever you're working on your next project. So,
thank you so much, Lisa.
And I want to thank you for your time. Are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience this morning?
No, I think the main thing is one of the things that touched me so much about Ted and Rhoda's story from the very beginning is that Rhoda, while her husband was unconscious, as he was for about half a year, they sedated him purposely so that they could do all the operations they need to on a burn victim. Well, because her quarter of a century confidant, her husband, who she turned to every day, was asleep, and she was having to go through this, she began keeping a daily diary.
Right.
And coming out of her pen from the very first entries was so much faith, so much calling to God, so much praying, so much frustration poured into prayer, that I think that readers will find that to be tremendously inspirational, because, how in the world do you get through something in which a spouse is 93% burned and trying to recover? And I think Rhoda Fink offers all of us an answer of what really worked for her. And so I'd encourage you, if nothing else, to at least peek at what Rhoda had to write. And I use quite a few excerpts from her diary to help tell her story.
Well, if you're in contact with her, please thank her for inspiring at least one reader, me, with her work. And I want to thank you as well for sharing this great story and for getting in touch with me. And hopefully we'll do this again in the future as your future projects come out. So, Michael McCarthy, thank you so much, author of The Sun Farmer. And I would wish you a Merry Christmas as well.
Merry Christmas, Lisa.
Well, I want to encourage everybody to run over to Michael McCarthy's website, which is located at www.thesunfarmer.com. And please do take some time to check out this book and to share with him your encouragement about the writing that he's doing. We've got some great authors coming up in future podcasts, so I just want to encourage you to stay tuned for those. And I love reading, so I'm always happy to share a good book with you. Well, even though we've just celebrated Christmas, one of my favorite holidays is coming up. It's actually New Year's Day, January 1st. And one of the reasons that I love New Year's, I'm a big resolution maker. I think I take after my daddy in this respect, in that I'm constantly on the lookout for self-improvement, and I fall short in so many ways that it's one of the times during the year that I sort of do a little bit of self-assessment and sit back and look at my life spiritually, physically, emotionally, as a wife and a mother, and try to come up with a resolve to actually do better in the next year. So I'm encouraged each January 1st at the flipping of a new page and a new desktop calendar and the opportunity to really grow and develop. One resolution that a lot of people make at New Year's is to get in better shape, and of course that's perpetually on my list as well. I usually come out of the Christmas season wanting to re-encourage myself to get back on my workout routine, because it definitely falls short during Christmas and during the rush of the pre-holiday season. And over at CatholicMom.com, one of my favorite sections is our fitness focus section. And we have a columnist there, Lynn Bodie, who shares with us monthly articles about fitness and incorporating that into our life. And Lynn had a comment or a column that appeared in the past that I thought I'd just read a little bit of to you since we're talking about New Year's resolutions. And this is again about fitness. I'm not going to read the whole column, but I want to read the introduction to you. It's entitled New Year's Resolution Action Plan. Creating a New Year's resolution can be a great idea, especially if you're resolving to get healthier. Weight loss and exercise are the top resolutions made. I guess I'm not alone there. But if you don't have an action plan, it may be doomed before it ever gets started. Unfortunately, the majority of individuals who make a New Year's resolution end up by breaking it. By February, nearly half have already failed. The following shows how many of these resolutions are maintained as time goes on. Only 75% make it past the first week. 71% make it past the first 2 weeks. 64% make it after 1 month, and after 6 months, only 46% are still sticking to their New Year's resolution. But don't let these stats convince you to plop down on your couch with a bag of chips. People who explicitly make resolutions are 10 times more likely to attain their goals than those who don't explicitly make resolutions. So if you want to lose weight or just get more fit in 2008, then resolving to do so may be beneficial to you. Just make sure you have an action plan that helps your success. Well, I always start the new year with an action plan, and I'm unfortunately one of those who frequently falls short. Thankfully, Lent comes along just in time to help me with some of my spiritual resolutions and to give me a little bit of a boost of energy as far as those are concerned. But I want to hear from you this week. Are you making a New Year's resolution, or do you not believe in New Year's resolutions? And if you are making one and you feel comfortable sharing with us, I'd love to hear it. I'll share with you one of mine, and that is that one of my friends has invited me to do the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon with her later on this year. It actually happens in June. So one of my physical resolutions is to get in shape to do that. We're not going to run the whole thing. We have a plan for a 20-week preparation period for running and walking a marathon. So that's one of my goals for this year. A perpetual goal for me is to have a more disciplined approach to my spiritual and prayer life, and to try to really block out time every morning for scripture reading, for meditation, for the rosary. And so I'm letting you guys know this because I want to stay true to my resolutions this year. And I'm hoping that by sharing what I'm thinking about doing with all of you, that maybe it'll give me a little bit of accountability, and that you'll check in with me and see how I'm doing on those resolutions from time to time, because we all need to lift each other up and support each other. If you feel comfortable sharing your resolution and you want a little bit of support from the Catholic Moments listening audience, feel free to drop me an email to lisa@catholicmom.com, or even better, to call our feedback line and to share your resolution there. I'd love to have a show for New Year's like we did for our Christmas show, where we have lots of voices calling in. The feedback line is listed at the Catholic Moments podcast website over at www.catholicmoments.com. If you want to grab a pencil really quick, I'll let you know that the feedback line number is actually 206-339-9272. And be brave. Give me a call and let me know what you're resolving, or that you think I'm crazy and that you think New Year's resolutions don't really mean anything. I'd love to hear from you. So chime in on this topic, or you can drop me a note over at Facebook, and we'll share some of the resolutions on the next episode. Well, one of my podcasting resolutions is to keep this episode down to 30 minutes, and I'm going to make a valiant effort at doing that. I'm intending to share some great news with you about the new Catholic Exchange Women's Study, and our friend Cheryl Deco has recorded some great audio feedback for us, but I'm actually going to hold that off until the next episode because I want to play it in its entirety, and it's a little too long to share here today. So with that being said, I'd like to close today's episode with a prayer, and this prayer is entitled Prayer to Jesus, God's Greatest Gift. As I told you at the beginning of the episode, it's still December 24th when I'm recording this, so I'm still definitely in Christmas mode. And even though by the time you listen to this, we will have already begun our season of Christmas celebration, that celebration extends through the Epiphany on January 6th. So I'd love to share this prayer with you. And as I offer this, I'd like to ask you to join me in praying for all the families of everyone who's out there listening, for our military men and women serving overseas and all those who are missing them, for those who are ill, those who have lost loved ones this year. May everyone have peace and love and harmony in 2008. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Jesus, I believe that the greatest proof of God's love is His gift to us of you, His only Son. All love tends to become like that which it loves. You love human beings, therefore you became man. Infinite love and mercy caused you, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, to leave the kingdom of eternal bliss, to descend from the throne of your majesty, and to become a helpless babe. Eventually you even suffered and died that we might live. You wished to enter the world as a child in order to show that you were true man. But you became man, also that man may become like God. In exchange for the humanity which you take from us, you wish to make us share in your divinity by sanctifying grace, so that you may take sole possession of us. Grant me the grace to love you in return with a deep, personal, and productive love. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you'll be hearing from me from my super secret vacation location that I'll be able to share some feedback with you from there and let you know just where I am. And in the meantime, please give me a call on the feedback line and share those resolutions or just say hello. I'd love to hear from you, so drop me an email or give us a call.
Thanks for listening. We'd love to hear any feedback or suggestions that you have for the podcast. Please visit us at catholicmoments.com or email us at catholicmoments@mac.com. And until next time, remember to make every moment count.
SQPN, the best in Catholic podcasting.